rise and fall of the 1988-89 New York Rangers was highlighted by the club's nearly 3-month stay at the top of the brutal Patrick Division. The rebirth of Hall of Famer Guy Lafleur as a Ranger was a pleasant surprise. But the most stunning development in this season would be the emergence of perhaps the 2 best rookies in the NHL. Tony Granato and Brian Leetch impressed the NHL by carrying the Rangers into the playoffs and offering the league a glittering preview of what lay ahead in Manhattan. 1988-89 was indeed the year of the rookies. The season began here in the city of Trois-Rivières. This quiet Canadian town known in English as Three Rivers lies midway between Montreal and Quebec City. September marked one of the proudest moments in Three Rivers history as the National Hockey League's New York Rangers opened their 1988-89 training camp here.
D'entrée de l'hôtel Le Baron, justement, on parle évidemment des Rangers de New York, puisque le camp d'entraînement des Rangers
est en compagnie d'un homme très acharné, puisqu'il s'agit du directeur.
An old friend and former coach here, Michel Bergeron, came back to repay a kindness. New, young faces, hoping to break into the NHL, appeared beside the veterans. And while a few would make news by returning with the club, the big story was the appearance of Hall of Famer Guy Lafleur. GM Phil Esposito had offered Lafleur a tryout after a 4-year retirement. The flamboyant Phil Esposito and his volatile head coach Michel Bergeron managed to peacefully share center stage last year, enabling the team to finish the 87-88 regular season as the league's hottest club. Rookie Tony Granato was a preseason long shot to make the club. His U.S. Olympic teammate, blonde-haired Brian Leetch, was a known quantity. Over 2,000 spectators appeared at the workouts each day. Most of these French-speaking Canadians were there to see their favorite son, Guy Lafleur. They wanted desperately to see this man return to glory. Many Montreal fans felt the Canadiens had embarrassed a national hero into retirement. Head coach Bergeron and GM Esposito wanted to see Lafleur in action in back-to-back games to see if he still had his legs.
See, they're not hitting him yet. That's why when it gets to the exhibition games and we get to the games, like, that's why I don't know. We got to really think about whether Lafleur's going to play Friday in Edmonton. I want him to play Saturday for sure in Denver. I want him to do that for sure. If you think we can put him back-to-back games, I don't see any problem with doing that.
It didn't take long to see that number 10 was out-skating and out-shooting many of the regulars. The flower was still in bloom. Espo couldn't hold back his feelings for Guy Lafleur.
Every time he stepped on the ice in the practice on the other side, he touched the puck. There wasn't once when he did not touch the puck, and he had 3 great opportunities. Sometimes in a whole game, you don't get 3 opportunities. And he did the same thing yesterday. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Reaching out for another taste of dignity, Guy Lafleur dealt with the pressure of his tryout.
I didn't score today, but I wanted to announce my retirement. An impossible dream? I don't see any impossible thing if you put your heart to it and the hard work.
Hard-working New York City couldn't wait to see the 1988-89 edition of their beloved Rangers. It is a town blessed with perhaps the most resilient fans in all of pro sport. They have survived 49 consecutive years of chasing the Stanley Cup without abandoning ship. Even more remarkable, most of them have never even considered mutiny.
Great. The electricity's unbelievable. We're watching the Rangers come out of Southgate, walk in, everyone's cheering them on. They got it. They're going to win tonight without a doubt.
I'm a Ranger fan all the way. Don't like the Devils at all.
I think they're going to do it. I like them on their aggressive team, and that's what really counts to me. As long as they're out there hitting people, things will happen.
The Islanders, nobody. It's Devils Rangers. That's it. That's it. It's now.
With an interesting blend of youth and age, the boys in blue set out for another NHL adventure. The Devils began where they had left off, as Patrick Division playoff champs. The Rangers, a team that was picked by most sports writers to finish no better than fourth in their division, clearly outshot and outplayed the Devils. The irony of this frustrating loss may have been a signal of what was to come. 37-year-old favorite Marcel Dion fell in disfavor with head coach Bergeron early and saw little playing time the rest of the season. The Rangers passed an early character test with flying colors as they overcame a second frustrating loss in a row to emerge as a team who suddenly could not and would not lose another game in October. Thomas Sandstrom was off to his best start as a Ranger. Playing out his option this year, he would finish with 88 points, his best season. Behind the rookie they could have called Turbo Granato, they won 7 games in a row, the longest Ranger win streak in more than a decade. Brian Mullen was acting like an all-star as the Rangers ripped the arch-rival Flyers in 3 straight games. They won at home and on the road, coming from behind or scoring early. They beat their Patrick Division rivals Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Washington, and the Islanders. They did it without Walt Dubny, last year's leading scorer, who was traded for all-star defenseman Norman Rochefort. And after October 23rd, they did it without Rochefort, who in a bizarre turn of events went down with a knee injury and was lost for the season. Head coach Michel Bergeron called on his remaining defensemen to pick up the slack, and they responded with league-leading results. Solid veteran Ron Greshner, number 4, and number 3, all-star James Patrick skated to the rescue. 23-year-old David Shaw used his size and strength to clear a visible path for what many believed was the best goaltending tandem in hockey, Bob Froese and John Van Beesbrook. After 10 games, the Rangers' defense not only led the league in fewest goals allowed, but the emergence of number 2, Brian Leetch, turned the transition game into a nightmare for the opposition. His transition from defense to offense was so smooth that he appeared to have little trouble moving the puck in traffic and penetrating the opponent's offensive zone. He set an NHL record for rookie defensemen for most goals scored in a season with 23. The early question was clearly the offense. Who would score the goals? Lafleur had made the club but was 37 years old. Ulf Dahlin, Mullen, Kissio, and Sandstrom would have to come up big. Dahlin was a workhorse as a defensive forward. Like a rocket, Tony Granato burst onto the scene to help fill this offensive void. Another jewel plucked from the U.S. Olympic team, Granato flashed across enemy creases, stuffing in 20 goals by mid-season. He would finish with 36 goals, a new Ranger record for goals by a rookie. His Evel Knievel style made him an instant favorite with the fans.
I didn't know what to expect coming into the league. I didn't know how I'd adjust. And it's a great feeling to know that I made the transition to the professional game, because a lot of people had questioned whether or not I'd be able to do so at my size. So it was important for me to get off to a good start and prove to myself that I could play at this level and could contribute at this level.
In the Rangers' 7-game winning streak, Granato led the team in goals with 6, including a shocking swat in midair of a Thomas Sandstrom pass, directed behind the bewildered Ron Hextall. The goal gave the club their first of 2 come-from-behind victories over Philadelphia. The following night against Pittsburgh, Granato fired in 4 goals for the first hat trick of his 11-game career. Tony Granato and fellow rookie Brian Leetch were runaway favorites for the league's Rookie of the Year honors. The Texas-born Leetch was showing the skills of a playmaking center. At only 20 years of age, this defenseman could already dominate a game. While at Boston College for 1 year, he became the first freshman ever to be nominated for the Hobey Baker Award, college hockey's most valuable player. Tony Granato and Brian Leetch together burned NHL goalies for 59 goals and 75 assists, a nightmarish forecast for the opposition for years to come. Leetch and Granato were on a hayride through the NHL.
We were a confident bunch. We were, we still, through tough times, we still we get along great together as a team. And that's one thing that made it a lot easier. There was no feeling like we had. Every night we went out early in the season, we believed we were going to win the game.
The road to the top of professional hockey was quite different for each Ranger. Right winger Brian Mullen was born and raised here in Manhattan's Hell's Kitchen.
It was great. I mean, there was hundreds of kids around all the time. The schoolyard was right across the street from where I lived, so we played basketball, baseball, touch football, hockey, everything in that schoolyard. So we basically, all 5 of us, including my sister, grew up in that schoolyard. And my mom and dad would sit out the window, watch us play roller hockey, and they'd keep a close eye on us just by staying home.
Mullen's got the puck. Kissio is taken down by 2 men. Mullen, wrapped around, Trey scores!
Brian Mullen was a key spark in the Rangers' jumpstart to the top of the NHL.
One with Mullen. Mullen stops it and shoots. He scores!
In a game at the LA Forum, his last-minute game-winning goal epitomized their come-from-behind character.
Mullen, Kevlar shoots, deflected. Mullen scores!
The Rangers set up camp atop the punishing Patrick Division and remained there through the month of November. After 20 games, their record was 11-6-3, the best Rangers start in a decade. Jan Eriksson again was chosen to shadow the league's top scorers. Six-foot, 2-inch, 204-pound David Shaw made the opposition pay the price. Captain Kelly Kissio pitched in with a career-high 26 goals. At only 165 pounds, the Rangers' prized rookie winger Granato needed protection. To keep much larger men from running at him, Michel Bergeron assigned Chief of Police Knuckles Nyland to do the job.
He needs protection. He needs somebody to be there for him all the time. I know when I was out hurt, he took his lumps. And I know when I'm on the ice with him, he knows I'm on the ice with him. And it makes his game a lot bigger. What drives me is my heart. I have a tremendous heart when it comes to playing the game. I give my all. If I'm hurt, I'll play when I'm hurt. And I just feel there's things I can do out on the ice that'll lift up the other guys, whether it's fighting or going out and scoring a big goal.
Off the ice, his fun-loving spirit was welcome relief from the 80-game NHL grind. The European players knew Knuckles as the guy who opened his house to all for Thanksgiving.
Oh! Hit by the floor. You looking forward to Thanksgiving dinner at Knuckles' house?
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, big turkey. We're gonna stuff the turkey with Swedish meatballs.
Where do you have? They invite your house?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't invite me.
I invited you, Gresh. You're going to your mother-in-law's house. Oh! Just missed my f***ing nose. Lights out. Game over. Is it true that you were scared of me when you played in Boston? Oh, yeah. Is it true you're still sleeping with that blow-up doll? I'm gonna own you today, though, Biza. You won't stop one. Right. I'll stop one. One, that's about it. I'm gonna own you. Mas, how much you get in the bank?
What?
Huh?
What?
About 5 million? Brian, is it true you're the most eligible bachelor in New York right now?
Why?
Are you eligible?
Yeah.
Yeah? How about Darryl Strawberry? Even more eligible than him? And they both score! It's 2-0. Greshna from Nyland, Nyland from Greshna. Come on, Nerdo! We're gonna own him! LaFleur scores!
Meanwhile, the presence of Guy Lafleur, both in the Ranger locker room and on the ice, proved to be invaluable. His quiet class and constant drive towards excellence lifted everyone on the club, while his 23 points in the first 28 games added a serious scoring threat to the New York offense. For Guy, December 17th was to be a magical night. It would be the first time he would skate at the Montreal Forum in a uniform other than the Canadiens. Tickets were selling for more than $400 each. His dream of scoring in the Forum against the organization that turned away from him was shattered, however, when he broke a bone in his left foot only a week before his return. Thousands still awaited the return of the Flower. Finally, in street clothes, he limped onto the red carpet before an adoring nation. A proud man reclaimed the love and respect of his country. While the beginning of winter found the Rangers merrily atop their division, across Long Island Sound, a one-time dynasty, the neighboring New York Islanders were struggling through a rebuilding season. While much of nature slept, New York's boys of winter were very much alive. While many clubs ground to a halt in December, the joyride had just begun for the Rangers. With the halfway point of this marathon season rapidly approaching, this team had yet to buckle. The media was anxiously awaiting the clock to strike 12 for the Cinderella Rangers. The injuries started to mount. Rochefort would not return. Nyland was lost with a serious abdominal strain. Petit and Patrick, Lafleur and Leetch all lost critical ice time. Bergeron kept the squad together, and while the Pittsburgh Penguins caught fire and passed New York in the standings, what some called the team's imminent January thaw never occurred. Goaltending was one piece of the puzzle which remained steady. Bob Froese was now stealing games on enemy ice and was dubbed the team's road warrior. John Van Beesbrook marked off his own territory on the Garden ice, challenging anyone to invade it. In perhaps the fastest and most dangerous team sport played by man, the ice hockey goaltender stands alone and vulnerable. On the most perilous 5 feet of Manhattan real estate stands John Van Beesbrook, New York's Lone Ranger.
Come on, Jen. Come on.
At home in Rye, New York, John Van Beesbrook retreats to the more playful company of his family and friends.
Go get it. Go get it. Go get it.
Well, I think my wife and the kid and the dogs and everything help you relax, because even if you come home and you're in a frustrated mood, you're upset with something, you come home and that's what it's all about. People get your mind off of other things, and when I come home, my wife definitely gets my mind off of the game. Even though sometimes I like to talk about it, she always seems to alter it some way or another.
And a kick save.
But it's not always peace and quiet. I think that what you don't see is our life on the road. When we go on the road, sometimes we're in restaurants, we're always eating in a restaurant, or, we're having to, mix and mingle with a lot of people. So when you come home, you want to get to the peace and tranquility of something sane.
Of course, at times it seems as though life on the road with the New York Rangers can be anything but sane.
July 9th. Where's your bag? Get it out of my face. I said get it out of my face.
I prefer to drive the New York Rangers, and they're going to be the next Stanley Cup champions. I drive some other teams, but these are my guys. These are my guys, especially the boss over there.
So I don't sit here by myself usually. I have a partner here.
With 40 games played on the road, the Rangers act as New York City's goodwill ambassadors to the world of hockey. Airports and airplanes, hotels and restaurants. For the visiting team, these are called home. Here you'll find all the excitement and glamour of travel that the fans rarely see. From Montreal to Philadelphia, for the professional hockey player, the real excitement of a road trip begins when he steps onto the opposition's ice. At times, the New York Rangers loved life on the road.
Granato and Lawton against Samuelson. Granato for Lawton, he scores!
In one stretch in late December and early January, they went 8 road games without a loss.
On Kissio, looks, fakes, open net, he scores! Kelly Kissio off the stick of Granato. Sandstrom tries to stuff it in, he scores! Gives the Rangers a 4-3 lead. Score! Back to Lafreniere, he scores!
Vancouver, the Rangers found themselves down 4-2, but they battled back to tie at the end of regulation.
Goes around the net, feed for Granato, he scores! Tony Granato! It's a power play goal!
Then, just 2 minutes into the overtime period, Kelly Kissio scored the game winner.
Ahead, on the net, Linden, lost control, project, shot by Mullen, knocked down with the blocker, the rebound, knocked down, Rangers trying to stuff it in, and they raise their hand.
It was the first Ranger overtime victory since March of 1987. Bob Froese sparkled in his role as king of the road. In one appearance, he shut out the Blues in St. Louis. And in another game against Pittsburgh, he stopped 21 shots in the first period alone.
Long shot, save, Froese, rebound, bounces around, Froese has got it. But here comes Lemieux, he's blocked by Froese. Comes out in front, saved by Froese. Pass, Earl with a shot, stick aside by Froese. Long shot by Ford, save off the glove of Froese. Long shot, stopped by Froese, and there he turns, he shoots off the glove of Froese. It's batted away by, takes the shot, save, rebound, Molly trying to back it in off Froese. Froese stopped it again.
Their performance away from home made them anything but welcome guests around the NHL. Back home at the Garden, storm clouds were gathering. Head coach Bergeron publicly demanded a new contract. He and GM Esposito were experiencing some turbulence.
Come on, guys. Finish up your check, guys.
Meanwhile, Espo was making the 40th trade of his career. The deal sent 11-year Ranger veteran Don Maloney to the Hartford Whalers for center Carey Wilson. Wilson, it was hoped, would provide a spark to the Rangers' lackluster power play, which was quickly becoming a sore point between the coach and GM. Wilson, number 17, came to play as he dealt off 3 assists in his very first Ranger game. This trade proved to be a good one, as Wilson scored a career-high 32 goals, 21 as a Ranger. Much of the credit for the Rangers' steady play had to go to their 2 Olympic rookies, Leetch and Granato. The 2 were running neck and neck for Rookie of the Year honors, and neither seemed to be slowing down. Brian Leetch was playing with the maturity of a seasoned all-star. He was well on his way to setting a new Ranger record for points by a rookie defenseman at 71. Brian Leetch was having fun.
Our goalies were playing great. We were winning the close games, which we hadn't done before, and we were winning in our division. You know, it was fun to come to the rink. There were good guys on the team. It was always, fun to be here.
From the beginning of the year to the end, he was probably our best player, I think. Him and Tony. And just his age, being that young and being as confident and never gets, disrupted on the ice. Seems like, he has a lot of poise for a guy his age. And he scores points. He's good defensively. He plays the body. There's not much more you can ask from a guy like that.
His uncanny ability to anticipate the reactions of all the bodies on the ice made him a deft passer and a serious threat whenever he carried the puck.
Brian Leetch is going to be a superstar, a true superstar in this game. There's no doubt about that.
There was also no doubt about the bright future of rookie sensation Tony Granato. His genuine enthusiasm and love for the game seemed to excite the entire city. For Tony, a high point of his season came on January 18th, when he returned to Chicago to play in front of his family and hometown fans in Chicago Stadium. It was his first visit there since his opening day nightmare in early October.
It was a bad place to start, and I had a very frustrating first game, one that I was a little concerned whether Coach Bergeron was going to continue to play me. I took a bad major penalty, and fortunately he stuck with me. And the next time I went to Chicago was completely the opposite. I was at the top of my game. I was playing with Thomas Sandstrom and Kerry Wilson, and we had everything going for us. And you know, when you're feeling good, it was a great time to go back there and redeem myself. And fortunately, I had a good game there. I got the bounces, and everything went well.
So well, in fact, that Granato scored 3 goals and 1 assist, leading the Rangers to their 11th road victory of the year and moving them back into first place in their division.
And the Rangers lead 6-4.
Despite an unsettling number of injuries, the Rangers remained the team to beat in the Patrick Division. After more than 40 games, they had compiled the league's best road record, and the steady play of newcomer Wilson, along with Jon Eriksson and Lucien Deblois, helped keep things in check. In March, the Rangers and their fans gave a heartwarming tribute to former Ranger goalie Eddie Jockeman. His 10-year New York career from 1965 through 1975 was highlighted by a Vezina Trophy, 5 NHL All-Star appearances, and in 1987, induction into hockey's Hall of Fame. Tonight, his number 1 would be retired forever. It will hang next to the only other Ranger jersey to be so honored, Rod Gilbert's number 7. The ceremony brought to mind another banner hanging from the Garden's rafters, the Cup banner of 1940. Not since that era had the Rangers gone into the month of March in first place. Not until now. This team and this town was wired. As the top act in town, they attracted quite a guest list. Even Superman showed up.
I have so much faith in them, and I know that we're going to win. I just know we are.
And then it happened. Suddenly and inexplicably, the Rangers' playoff express was derailed. The team could not score. The puck found its way past Ranger goaltenders. Even their best efforts went without reward. Their divisional title hopes were cut off at the knees.
I can't believe it! Feeds in front, Franciscetti scores! And the Caps have the lead!
By month's end, they were barely holding on to third place.
Let's go now! Come on, guys, what do you say now?
They went round and round in search of an answer to their sudden woes, but found none.
Montreal, at February 4th, we're ahead 5-2 and we lose the game. I mean, we played a pretty good game there. And it was Guy Lafleur, and he was going great. After that, it seemed like we were on a slide. And then we got all those injuries. Then we were on a bigger slide. And we just couldn't seem to recapture that. And I think that was, to me, the beginning of the end, as it were.
during that stretch where we started to slide with all the injuries, that was the reason we started to slide. We were missing 6, 7, 8 regulars, and at that point we started to lose games, and we never got the confidence back, even though, like I said, we got the players back towards the end of the year.
You have to have the trust within each other, and I think that we lost that trust. Related to injuries, related to whatever you want, but we lost the trust in each other. We didn't depend on each other enough. That happens, and you try to do a little bit too much. You make up for somebody else's error, and you commit your own.
I know every guy in this room tried their heart out and played the best they could, and we just didn't win. We didn't measure up, and that's plain and simple.
For GM Esposito, something had to be done to stop the slide. Despite Michel Bergeron's efforts to right the sinking ship, they took on more water. With the playoffs upon them and the club floundering, Espo took over the command of the reeling Rangers. On April 1st, Phil Esposito fired Michel Bergeron and named himself as the new head coach. Like a cruel April Fool's joke, this once proud Ranger team sat stunned. Their season lay in ruins around them. With Esposito now behind the bench, the Rangers met Pittsburgh in the first round of the playoffs. In a humbling display of brilliant offense and hot goaltending, the Penguins swept the series 4-0. The bizarre ending wasn't reserved for just the Rangers. Defending Cup champion Edmonton and 1989 Patrick Division leader Washington also went out in the first round. From the ashes of their devastating collapse rises the hope of a new beginning. It is a hope which is built upon the strength of the people of New York City, who call themselves Ranger fans. They are the heartbeat of this hockey franchise, for without the blue blood Ranger fan, the spirit of this team would have died years ago.
The fans pump me up, and I know they pump the rest of the team up.
It is widely held that there are no fans in any sport quite like Ranger fans. They are a breed unto themselves.
Game 3, when we came home against Pittsburgh, after everyone was saying they're booing you and everything else, and we got that tremendous ovation. I think that was the greatest feeling I've had all year, was to know that they were behind us 100%, and that they're a definite part of this organization, and we're going to win a lot of hockey games for them and hopefully bring that cup back here very soon.
This is it. There's nothing better in life than being a Ranger fan. Nothing. There's no greater and more loyal fan than a Ranger fan. Win, lose, or draw, Ranger fans are the best. They stick by their team through thick and thin. And when the Rangers do win, and they will, it'll be the most rewarding thing in the history of mankind.
For Ranger fans, faith in their hockey heroes will never die. And on this foundation of trust, the New York Ranger Club will begin a new season, a new quest for hockey's holy grail, Lord Stanley's Cup of Champions. The rise and fall of this year's team had but one constant, one real hero, the Ranger fan. A true believer in the magic of Ranger Blue. For them, it is not a question of if, but when the cup will come back to the Garden.